Good evening, everyone. I'm giving you 5 minutes to wrap up your food, wrap up your eating. Then we can start with our meeting so that we can finish and go home. Honorable members who are still outside, can you please come back so that we can start with our meeting? If we no longer have honorable members outside, can you please close the door? That side. We are locking them out of. Good evening, honorable members. You are all welcome to this subcommittee on rules meeting. I'm sure we all received the documents and the agenda,
Recording in progress.
minutes, Honorable Michalakis.
Thank you, Chairperson. I don't want to, after the session that we had, cause unnecessary drama for you. My apologies, but I just have a question. Members who were requested to leave the chamber, whether they're allowed to be in the committee and whether any of the members present were requested to leave the chamber. As far as I understand, you must then leave the precinct for the remainder of the day. Thank you.
Also,
So we have advised the member was removed, Honorable Ntlangweni, that she could not be, and she's okay with that. That's the only member affected. Yeah.
you are all welcomed, honorable members, to this
Honorable Chair.
sub. Honorable Matias, please don't respond, please.
But
Don't.
that was itself uncalled for.
Honorable Matias, please, let's proceed with
Whatever
the
is
meeting.
dictated Under wide supervision, like.
Honorable Matias, is the rules of the House that if a member was removed from the chamber, it is for the whole day. So when you were not removed, please, let's allow us to proceed.
The point I'm making is, you did not need anyone to remind you, Honorable Chair. You didn't need anyone to remind you. The fact that you are allowing to be reminded, you subject yourself under this kind of an arrangement.
Honorable Matias, I note what you are saying. Can we please proceed with the meeting? I just want to say, honorable members,
On a point of order, Chair. But equally, we can't have unwritten rules here that a person can't speak because they are white. They can't raise their opinion. It's wrong.
I didn't get that, but we don't need such comments in this meeting. We've been working well, all of us, in this subcommittee. So please, let's make sure that we don't turn it into a theater of something. Let's focus on what is before us and respect one another as expected. Honorable members, we have the agenda in front of us. I want from the onset to say that the agenda was circulated to us with the documents that are here. So I want us to observe a moment of silent prayer. You remember we laid to rest one of our own, Honorable Lungim Ganga Kabasha, on Saturday. And also we lost our Isitwalandwe Sia Parangwe, Umam Shope, who were the first members of parliament in the democratic South Africa. Let's observe a moment of silent prayer. Thank you very much. May their soul rest in peace. Are there apologies, honorable members? Karen?
Honorable Bessel sent his apology.
You are sitting next to me, but I didn't hear. Whose apology is that?
Honorable Bessel's.
Honorable Vessels. Okay, thank you very much. So everyone is welcome to this meeting of ours. We have only one apology. Anyway, in the subcommittee, we don't need a quorum. We proceed, even if we are two, we can proceed with the work of Parliament. So is there a mover for the adoption of the agenda? Before we adopt the agenda, I just want to bring you to the attention of item 4, which will be withdrawn from this agenda because they are still working on it. So it will come in our next meeting with all the final details after being polished. Thank you very much. Is there a mover for the adoption, Honorable Michalakis?
Thank you, Chair. I move for the adoption of the agenda with the amendment mentioned by you.
Thank you. Honorable Makubela Mashele.
I second the move by Honorable Makalakis.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have draft minutes in front of us, draft minutes for the 1st of April. If we can go through those minutes. Yeah, I have many agendas here. Karen? The minutes. Thank you very much, honorable members. We are on corrections on the minutes of the 1st of April. We are on page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Thank you very much. I wanted to see if you are still awake or you are sleeping on the job. Thank you very much. There are no corrections to the minutes. Do we have a mover for the adoption of the minutes? Those who were in the meeting. Honorable Michalakis?
Chairperson, I'll move for the adoption.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder? A seconder for the adoption of the minutes, Honorable Korenov. Thank you very much. Are there matters arising, Mr. Kaso?
Thank you, Chairperson. Would the matter of unannounced visits by committees and individual member oversight, it's still under consideration. The subcommittee was given until June to finalize the matter by the Speaker. And we are busy with proposals, which we'll present to the committee, Honorable Chair. And of course, we're dealing with the issue of money bills now. And you've ruled on the matter of reforms to questions procedure. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, honorable members. We are still waiting for the input from different political parties with regard to that other item of the committee on the presidency. So honorable members, now I hand over, I don't know, it will be yourself, Mr. Kaso or Perrin, who will be presenting.
Chairperson Perrin will take us through this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Perrin.
Thank you, Chairperson, and honorable members. So I'm going to present the revised proposals on the rules and directives which are required for the money bills as envisaged in the Money Bills and Related Matters Act. The draft rules were attached, I think circulated last week as Annexure B, but it says, the document says draft rules for the Money Bills and Related Matters Act, May 2025. And then the other document is called National Assembly Rules Committee Draft Directives for consider. So I'll be speaking to both documents, not necessarily going through it every line by line, but just trying to explain the key issues. So members will recall that at the last meeting of the subcommittee, we presented the draft rules at that point, and members were accepted some of the general points, but suggested that when it came to directives, that the Rules Committee should play a more central role rather than the respective committees on finance and appropriations. So that is what we've done. We've reformulated the draft to essentially incorporate that viewpoint. And you'll see, I will obviously explain in more detail how that is captured. But I think maybe just as an initial point and by way of a background, I think I should say that the draft rules, as well as the directives, have been the subject of prolonged discussions in Parliament, both in the 6th Parliament and in the 7th Parliament. In fact, that was what we presented as well at the last meeting. I should also probably say that the rules and the directives are in many ways technical. And because they do not bestow any fundamental powers to any structure, the Rules Committee or the standing committees, that are not already provided for in the Money Act. So they are necessary, but they're not, they are also technical in that respect. So in short, I should say that the rules and the directives seek to really address three key issues which are relevant to money bills, both finance bills, which are considered by the Standing Committee on Finance, taxation bills and so on, as well as budget bills, which are considered by the Standing Committee on Appropriations. So the Money Act identifies, if you like, three key issues which the rules need to provide for. The first is the manner of consultation between committees, and that's specifically relevant with revenue bills, but also in the case of the budget, the appropriation bill. So consultations between committees are necessary in the event a committee wants to propose an amendment to the budget. So the Defense Committee wants to propose an amendment to the defense vote. There must be a way that that committee interacts with the Standing Committee on Appropriations. And so that is the kind of consultation that the rules envisage. The issue, though, is that process must be developed in a way that the different structures and the different role players have a clear understanding of what's expected of them. And the way, for example, amendments are proposed must be formulated in a particular way. So in other words, the rules must provide clarity about how that must work. The second issue is the manner of consultation between Parliament and the executive, as well as between Parliament and the public. So again, the Act says there must be public participation. The Act says that ministers must be given an opportunity to respond to proposed amendments. But it says the rules must decide how that must actually take place. So that is another aspect that's covered in the rules and the directives, which I will explain. The third issue which the Act requires rules to determine is the nature and the content of reports published by the standing committees to the House. So the House obviously has to take certain decisions based on the reports, and the rules then describe in quite a bit of detail what those reports must include. So, ma'am, if I can actually turn to the proposals themselves, I think that the document is on the screen. If I could maybe just direct, so, okay, yeah, so sorry, if you could just go down, I'll tell you when to stop. Further down. This is all background, so further down. So yes, so here, go one up there. So the rules that are affected are the rules pertaining to the Standing Committee on Finance, the Standing Committee on Appropriations, and then lastly, the legislative process. So there's a chapter in the rules that deals purely with lawmaking, and a part of that is budget processes. So the rules that are affected are those three aspects. So you'll see if you just the rules that are on the screen now, that is about the creation of the creation, but the details surrounding the portfolio committee on finance. And there you'll see the rules, the changes that we're proposing, the omissions we've put in highlighted in brackets, the additions we are underlined in the text. So the rules now talk about essentially the establishment, the composition, the functions and powers of the committee. Now, these are not, these are the same in effect that we presented at the first meeting. The key difference, though, is that the power to issue directives to provide for certain processes has been removed from these two committees, from the Standing Committee on Finance and Appropriations. And instead, and I will describe it now as reflected later, is now given to the Rules Committee. So whereas the draft we circulated on 1 April provided that these committees could issue directives, now that function is given to the Rules Committee instead. The other provisions are effectively more or less the same, with some technical changes. And I don't know if it's necessary to go clause by clause. So I think, let me just go to the If you go further down to the section on, further down. So, go further down. There, chapter 13 of the rules is the chapter that deals with the lawmaking process, and part A is about the rules applicable to money bills. So there you'll see Rule 323 sub A, and I'll read it because I think this is important. It now says the Rules Committee must, subject to legislation, these rules, the joint rules or resolutions of the Assembly, issue directives to provide for the form and timeframes for consultations between committees and members of Cabinet in terms of the Money Bills Act, and the form and timeframes for consultations with other organs of state and persons, that would be public, for example, interest groups, in terms of the Money Bills and Related Matters Act. The rule also says that these directives issued in terms of Rule 323 must be published in the ATC. So basically the point is that the power to issue directives is now given to the Rules Committee rather than the other two, the other structures. So I think, ma'am, what we need to maybe look for now is look at the directives themselves, because the directives weren't circulated before in April, because at that point the idea was that the standing committees would agree to the directives. Now, because the Rules Committee will have to agree to the directives, we've formulated what they will look like. So if we could go to the document on directives, I want to direct members to the second document, which is draft directives for consideration of money bills and related matters that provided for yes, that's the one on the screen now. So these are the directives which we are recommending that the Rules Committee endorse, and then which would be published. The definitions and the purpose of the directives are quite straightforward. But I wanted to read, I wanted to maybe focus on paragraph C, which is the Standing Committee on Finance. And this is about the consideration of revenue bills. There's another section that deals with the Standing Committee on Appropriations, but I will discuss, they're very similar in many ways with one or two changes. So I think I want to focus on the Standing Committee on Finance for now. So in terms of the directives, you'll see that the first aspect is consultation with other committees. And it says there that a committee may, in paragraph A, and that committee, a committee is a portfolio committee or an oversight committee dealing with an aspect or a vote in the budget, may by way of a submission, submit a proposal to the Standing Committee on Finance to amend a revenue bill before the Standing Committee. A submission must indicate the reason for each proposed amendment and satisfy the requirements of the Act. The Money Act is quite detailed in terms of what amendments how committees must motivate amendments. Sub 2 is that proposed amendments to the bill, this is actually the revenue bill in this case, must conform to standard legislative drafting practices. And so that is to enable the Finance Committee to incorporate amendments so that committees are making submissions, and those submissions look more or less the same in terms of their form. And that allows the Finance Committee to incorporate and to discuss without having to go back and forth because certain information is missing or there's certain issues in terms of the submissions themselves. So the second aspect of the directives is to do with the committee program. And this is the Standing Committee on Finance. It says there, the Standing Committee on Finance must, when a bill has been referred to it, provide a reasonable time for any consultations required in terms of the Act, and must determine the date by when committees and the public can make submissions on the bill. So effectively, these directives, which are agreed by the Rules Committee, they give the power to determine the dates by when the Standing Committee can receive submissions by committees and by the public. So that power is effectively devolved now to the Standing Committee on Finance. And the reason that is because each bill is the time frames involved in each bill are different. 1 year, the revenue bill might be introduced on the 1st of February. The next year, it's on the 10th of February. And so that even though the sort of time periods may be the same, the actual dates will differ from 1 year to the next. So that is one power that the Standing Committee, in this case on Finance, will have, the date to determine the dates by when it will consider submissions. But the directives go on to say that the Standing Committee may, subject to the Act and the rules, and on good cause shown, deviate from the dates that it has already determined, provided the deviation does not negatively affect any other participant to whom these directives apply. And that is just to provide for a situation where the committee wants to, or should be reasonable when it considers submissions. If something is delayed by a day, for example, I think it would be unreasonable for the committee to just dismiss something because of a short delay. So it does give the committee the power to deviate from that, but it must be on good cause shown. Any deviation and the reasons therefore must be recorded in the minutes of the standing committee. So as long as those deviations don't affect other role players, they don't prejudice the minister, for example, then I think the standing committee should be allowed to consider them. The next aspect of the directives deals with executive responses to proposed amendments. And I did mention that in almost all cases, when a committee is proposing an amendment to a bill, the minister must be given a space to respond to those amendments. This is before, in fact, the committee goes to the House. So it says there that the executive responses to proposed amendments as required by the Money Act. The Standing Committee will, and again, this is the Finance Committee, as necessary, invite the Minister of Finance to respond to proposed amendments. Executive responses to each proposed amendment must include a statement by the Minister indicating whether they're in agreement with the proposed amendment or not. So that must be very clear when the Minister responds. If the Minister is not in agreement with the amendment, why the Minister is not in agreement. In other words, it can't simply say the Minister disagrees. There must be some basis for that. And then any other information which may be of relevance to the Standing Committee. So that allows the Minister, if there are other documents, for example, which are relevant to be able to submit those as well. So those, the times for ministerial comments are stipulated in the Act, which is why you don't see a provision about the times in the directives. They're given a certain time in the Act. So the next part of the directives deals with the Standing Committee on Appropriations. And there it talks about consideration of money bills and related matters. So there are basically two kinds of money bills that go to the Standing Committee on Appropriations. The one is the division of revenue bills, and the other is appropriation bills. The Finance Committee deals with tax bills and the other matters. So in effect, the directives are very, very similar to what I've outlined for the Finance Committee. The only real key difference is that because of the nature of the appropriation bill, the budget itself, which is in fact referred to all these different portfolio committees, it's a more involved type of consultation that occurs in the appropriation bill than perhaps with some of the other budget instruments, because it involves all these different structures. So the Money Act says that it provides a situation where committees, these different committees, when they approach appropriations, are actually making contradictory proposals. And there the Money Act says the rules must provide for a mechanism for the committee to resolve these differences. At the moment, the rules envisage a special subcommittee that's being created, which I don't think is necessarily very practical. And that's why what we're suggesting now is, instead of that rule, that the Standing Committee must, and this is I'm talking about appropriations now, must, when necessary, convene a meeting, invite and mediate between those committees which have proposed conflicting amendments. If the mediation is unsuccessful, the Standing Committee may decide which amendments will be put to the Assembly. In other words, it gives the final say to the Standing Committee on Appropriations, to which the bill is in fact referred to. So that's really more or less an issue of practicality. So ma'am, those are, I think, in summary, the rules. As I said, the committee's been through some of the more technical issues before. The purpose really is that it's going to try and clarify the roles and between the different structures, between structures within the National Assembly, the different committees, and the relationship between the House and the committees. But also, very importantly, the relation or the mechanisms that exist between the Parliament and the executive, and of course, Parliament and the public. So the idea is to enable, even though the rules are technical, is to be able, these different role players, to play a meaningful role in the budget. So the key issue is that the rules must be practical and maybe as sort of simple as possible, but they must also be of course, implementable. I think I'll pause there. I don't know, Mr. Castle, if you have any issues you want to focus on. Thanks.
Not at this point, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Perrin, Mr. Tasso, for the presentation. I think we dealt with the money bills. That is why today I allowed Perrin just to go to the summary and also the directives. We dealt with this in our previous meeting. So honorable members, as we have said, it is a technical, these are technical amendments to the money bills. Are they takers on the presentations? Honorable Michalakis.
Thank you, Chair. From my side, the concerns that we raised last time have all been addressed, and I really just want to express my gratitude to everyone involved. I think that this version is an improvement, and I think it looks good. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Michalakis. Are there other takers on the presentation? So we are happy with the Honorable Mabala.
Ukalile. Good Honorable Chairperson and greeting to all members. On page 3, I'm trying to check because they say it's technical.
Page 3 of what?
Of what is it?
Of the directives?
Under definition, no, another under definition, under consultation with other committees.
Maybe the honorable member can indicate the heading. The heading, sir?
Yeah,
The heading.
the directive, the draft directive for the conservation of humanity. The last page.
Okay.
I'm trying to check on which version because it is technically on number 3. The last sentence says committee may recommend. Is that may recommend or must recommend?
Okay. Mr. Professor Perrin, a response to that?
That is to do with the proposed conditional appropriations. So where a committee comes to this case is the Appropriations Committee and says that we accept that the department should have these funds for the program or for the vote as a whole, subject to these conditions. So that's a power that's actually given in the Money Act. So there I haven't, what this directive is trying to do is that when that happens, when a committee comes to the Appropriations Committee, it must include in their submission the conditions that need to be met before the Standing Committee may recommend to the House that the funds be released. So that all the directive is saying is that the other committees can't say, you know, we think that the budget should be agreed to with conditions. They must explain what those conditions are. The Standing Committee on Appropriations in this case is the final, of course, the House is the final authority, but in terms of the structures within Parliament, that is the structure that can in fact amend a money bill or an appropriation bill. It can also finally agree to release conditional funds. So the may there is something which is in fact in the, I'll just confirm it, but I think it's in the Money Act itself. I don't think that is something which is just in the directives. So that's why it's there. Thanks.
Are you satisfied? Okay, thank you very much. Is there another taker? Okay, we are fine because what they have presented to us is the product of our last meeting. The meeting that we had, we deliberated on this. Then we said they must go and refine it, same as other rules that we deal with. So when we make inputs, the table will go and refine it according to the inputs that we made. So in that order, honorable members. Yes.
Chairperson, I would like to move for the adoption of these rules. Thank you.
Honorable Michalakis is moving for the adoption of these amended rules. Honorable Ghana,
I will second, Chair. And Chingila, on behalf of Chingila, second as well.
okay, you have seconded and Honorable Nchingila has thirded. Okay, thank you very much, honorable members. There's nothing on the agenda other than what we dealt with. So, okay, parents still want to say something.
Thanks, Chair. No, I don't want to say anything about the details of what we discussed. I know, ma'am, that there are those other issues which Mr. Kauser referred to that are still before the subcommittee. So, I would imagine that if we meet in June to discuss those other matters, and then we submit a report to the Rules Committee at that point. Okay, so in other words, we wouldn't be submitting a report just on this basis of this issue. Okay, but I'll take obviously guidance from Mr. Kauser as well.
Mr. Klaus?
Chair, yeah, no, thanks, Parent, for that. Chair, you may wish to guide us on this because we're busy now with the budget. We do not know what will come out of that process, whether there will be a decision to amend the budget or not. And these rules are meant to facilitate that process. So you may wish to consider whether we should not perhaps move forward to the Rules Committee with these rules and so that we fast track them in a sense while we're waiting for the other items so that we don't frustrate the budget process.
Thank you very much, Mr. Klaso, for raising that. Indeed, the real reason for us meeting today so that we adopt these amendments to the money bills rules is specifically for that purpose. So I would like us to go to the Rules Committee to adopt this as we are currently having a budget in front of us and we don't know the outcome of that particular budget. So I would suggest that let's agree to take this one of the money bills to the Rules Committee. Then we will come back and deal with those other issues. So we will then take to the Rules Committee. If there can be a special Rules Committee just to deal with this, then we move forward. As a subcommittee, Mr. Klaso, we have disposed of this item from this minute. So we can then take it to the speaker, then she'll decide as to when can we have that special Rules Committee so that we can deal with this. After that, we'll come back to deal with all the other matters that are before the House, before this subcommittee. And I believe that with all those items that are left, we will be able to dispose of them as soon as possible before we get other referrals from the speaker. Honorable members, without the waste of time, your time, I know you are very tired. You've been in Parliament since morning. I want to thank you, honorable members, for your attendance to this meeting and also the parliamentary officials and the budget office. I see they are here. I'm sure they are happy that we have managed to adopt the money bills rules. We are not going to delay anything. So thank you very much, honorable members. Mr. Klaso, the meeting stands adjourned.